IDF Colonel Miri, senior fellow now at the International Institute for Counterterrorism at Reichman University. Miri, good to talk to you, as always.
Always good to see you, Jim.
First, let me ask you, what's the feeling among Israelis tonight with this news? Enormous relief, certainly for the families and for those who've supported the families throughout these 460 some odd days.
Jim, I'm not sure that we're at the stage of relief yet. I think we're kind of breathless. We believe it. We know it's going to start. But as Matthew said before, we're Israeli. We expect everything bad to happen along the way. But I want to give you up front how I feel as a mother. If I was the mother of a 23-year-old daughter, supposedly in the next 6 weeks, the women and children and women soldiers are going to be let out. But they've already said up front that if I was the mother of a 23-year-old young man who's being held by the same Hamas, kidnapped, butchered, both the elderly, then I'm not even going to be let out in the next 42 days. So it's very mixed feelings. Who gets to be on the list? Who's not on the list? Who are we suddenly going to discover is dead? Because they've said very clearly that at this first stage, it will already include, they said live and dead, meaning Hamas aren't saying anything even at this stage. So as an Israeli, I'm going, oh my God, thank God this is happening. But I'm fearful, I'm anxious. And this is such a horrible war for everybody, but let's take it a step further.
And you're right. Listen, some families are going to get sad news, not knowing that their loved ones were dead, and that's a sad fact. The outlines of this deal have effectively been on the table for many months now. Of course, there are differences, but the general outlines, why now? What, in your view, put this over the finish line?
I would say a few things. It isn't just one. But it's the beginning of that, to me, is the Israeli actions against Hezbollah, the absolute degrading of Hezbollah, and the changes that happened in Syria. That has directly also impact the way that we can negotiate now with Hamas. They have lost the Iranian backer. They've lost the Hezbollah front. They most definitely now are alone. So yes, the Houthis fire missiles here and there, and it's not happy for me, but it's not the same as it was before. So that's one big change. Hand in hand, together with the change of administration in the United States. I live in the Middle East, and in the beginning of January, the Middle East, not Israel, but the greater Middle East, were all about 5 years to the death of Qasem Soleimani, killed by the Trump administration, in the former administration. That was a big event. And his coming back means that there's the guy who killed Qasem Soleimani, and the connection there, both to Yahya Sinwar, to the Hamas, to Hezbollah. Again, that's a different aspect. I think that Hamas has had it harder. I also think that we, the state of Israel, have been in a horrible war, just like the Palestinians. The Hamas are the ones who started this, and so all of these together brought about this change of capability to get to a deal.
I've spoken to a number of hostage families, and spoke, for instance, to Ruby Chen, whose son Itai is still being held, believed dead, sadly. He has said more than once that the Netanyahu government did not sufficiently prioritize the hostages in these negotiations, and that it took too long. Took too long for these families. Is that a fair criticism?
I could never argue with a hostage family. As I said at the beginning, I could have been the mother. I have a 25, 23, and 20-year-old. I could have been the mother of one of those ones. I could have been the sister or the daughter. So my heart can go out in full. I can be full of criticism for an Israeli government. But Jim, I put it on the table, a negotiation with the Hamas terror group that sat and planned this type of attack on October 7th, that trained for it. The fact that we missed it is a colossal failure, but they chose to do so. They planned to do so. They planned to take the hostages. There's no easy way to negotiate with that. I don't believe Hamas. I don't believe that they'll deliver. I'm very worried about the upcoming 42 days and then the next two stages. And I say all of that because, yes, I do think that our government could have done more. I can't say that they chose not to, but I also fully blame Hamas that at any stage along the way could have given back hostages, could have opened it up, and they didn't. And I think that it's the changes of what Israel did against Hezbollah, that collapse of Hezbollah, Syria, the Iranian presence there, and the election of President Trump that really brought about the change.
Before we go, what does Gaza look like in the future? Does Hamas has not been completely destroyed? It's certainly been weakened and many of its fighters killed, but it's not gone. What is the path forward for Gaza? And will there be a negotiation at some point about finding new government there?
We can talk about the individuals. I'm going to do a zoom out. Jim, there are 2.3 million people who live in the Gaza Strip. They may support Hamas. Many of them may be part of Hamas, but that's 2.3 million people, and they're going to be there tomorrow morning and next year. And they need to have places to live, places to work, just like they did under Hamas, and Hamas did not give them that. And I erroneously, before October 7th, 2023, thought that Hamas was becoming more responsible and wanted to build a better future for their people. I was wrong. They wanted to destroy me. So I hope that Hamas are not the ones who are going to run it, but I don't think that Israel is the one who will be able to define what happens fully. I say it sadly, but there's 2.3 million people, and with them, with Palestinians, with other leaderships around, let's hope that the biggest thing is education, not extremism, and building for them a clear-cut, real future.
We can hope. Miri Eisen, thanks so much as always for joining.
Thank you, Jim.
Joining me now is